Hello. Hello, everyone. All right. And so we're looking at the final. So congratulations, you guys. Um, I'm eager to see like when you guys get a chance to do more of your own independent work, like with the Civil War. Uh, or no, actually, no, we skipped that one, didn't we? Because I was behind. Shoot. Yes, you guys didn't get to do the fighting the Civil War assignment. Shoot. Well, anyway, heck. Uh, so we're looking at the end of Reconstruction, and we're doing test 3. All right. And so before I get into test 3, just a couple things. One, please remember again, please have everything turned in by the 19th. Okay. By the midnight of the 19th into the 20th. That seems to be, according to the system, the Canvas system, the final time that submissions are allowed. All right. Secondly, note that I gave you 2 goes at it. All right. So on the properties of it, you get 2 goes, and of course it will accept your higher of the 2, obviously your higher score of the 2. All right. Then also, what else? What else? Like as on the last test, I want to kind of play a juggling act. I want to help ensure that you guys are prepared to succeed on this test. But remember that it's collegiate level, right? And so I don't want to give too much away. But of course, anything that I believe that cannot be pretty clearly gleaned from the argumentative assignments, because of course this is open note. I mean, how could I enforce closed note anyway? But I'm philosophically fine with open note tests. To me, as long as you learned it, that's what's important. All right. So if I pass up a question that I think, okay, we covered that, an argumentative section covered that, feel free at the end, or even as I'm doing it, to interject and ask me about a specific question. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So I'm going to share the screen. All right. So let's see here. Number 1 is pretty obvious in that not only all but one are mentioned in the Jacksonian handout, but a present reality to this day. If we happen to have the electoral system still, then it was very questionably abolished. All right. Let's see here. We talked about tyranny of the majority. I talked about my subjective take on populism, right? And the fact that it did, those changes were largely just beneficial for WASP men. Okay. I gave my 2 cents on populism, verbally and written. So I'm going to skip 3. Number 4 is right in there on number 1 of the Jacksonian handout. All right. And number 5, I think you could extract it from the writing, but because I'm not positive, and it may have been more just from my supplemental lecture, I'm okay with going over it. Alexis de Tocqueville visited America, right? He only visited like 4 or 5 states, and he wrote Democracy in America, right? He was here for the prison system, and he ended up being swayed into something bigger than that, writing a modern classic on his take on Americans of his time period. Did it unequivocally praise the democratization of society? No. If you read de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, you will see plenty of reservations, plenty of fears that he articulated in fearing of the tyranny of the majority, of them wanting to everybody to conform to the majority's culture. And so hence you would have mediocrity, you would have just, lack of intellectual autonomy for all people. he had a lot of problems with it. I remember in particular, he thought that it was alarming that so many local judge positions were becoming elected, because he says someone needs to stand up for the numerical minority. All right. And with number 6, speaking of standing up for the numerical minority, just remember that the Supreme Court stood up for the numerical minority, right? As you may recall from my lecture and from that handout, in the famous Worcester case, the Supreme Court stood up for the Cherokee and contending that a federal level treaty, giving them New Echota, trumped a mere state eminent domain law. Let's see here. Number 7 is right in there. All right. And we are dealing with number 7 now. We are dealing with the antebellum westward expansion handout. Number 1, when I lay the blame on the entire generation, right? No longer great man history and depicting Polk and the leaders as these devil leaders, but they had plenty of pressure to take California, to push the Mexican-American War, etc. So it's an indictment on that entire generation. All right. Number 8, I made clear verbally, for those of you who are here with me. And yes, I did say that according to Chicano historians, Santa Anna's uber conservative constitution, I think it was a Siete Leyes, they were kind of a convenient pretext, a convenient excuse for the Anglos who were wanting to rebel. And you already had the Fredonian Revolt and other episodes in which they tried to rebel and secede from Mexico before this. Court American history, however, does contend, right, that they were fighting for the liberal Constitution of 1824 initially, that they were fighting against a very undemocratic, very unitary, right, with the federal government controls even the local areas, type of government. And they were, a lot of the Scots-Irish there were libertarian. Yeah, 10 is a little bit redundant along with number 7. Let's see here. Number 11, I literally used that term on number 1, unhealthy cycle. Number 12, remember Turner's thesis was romantic, right? It stated that the conditions in the West, particularly the dangers and opportunities, were so evidently indiscriminate that the region virtually revivified. It gave new life to American meritocracy. So again, indiscriminate dangers and opportunities with 13. So anything that goes against that thesis with number 14, anything that goes against the thesis of there being relative equality of opportunity in the West. So that one should be easy to infer, I think. Number 15, evidence against Turner's thesis. We had 2 sections. One was Marxist history and contended how the rich had a huge advantage over the less fortunate in the West, just as it happened everywhere else. And another one was ethnic post-civil rights history. And it focused upon discrimination faced by Hispanics or Latinos and Asians. All right. Yeah, with number 16, it's in written form, and I spoke about it. This allegedly idealistic generation that popped up prior to the Civil War that forced discourse on the subject of slavery, that stressed no longer being a slave to tradition, but paving your own road. That also included the idea of civil disobedience, And then there were all kinds of movements, right, that tried to improve mankind and tried to improve American institutions, starting with the family. Number 17, antebellum reforms entailed an attempt to save the nuclear family from dysfunction. Absolutely. A protest against conformity and bourgeois conformity. Absolutely. Ties to the Civil War? Yes. All right, and then you see a list of reforms. And because I don't think I mentioned the Sabbath movement, I think that's the only one that I did not mention that's in here. That is another one that was prevalent at that time. So you're looking at all the above. Number 19 is right out of the handout. All right, number 19 is right out of the handout. I don't understand why I keep writing number 20 as a new question and it's not saving. On your actual test, it's there. All right. Your digital test on Canvas. I don't get it. I don't get it. Subjectively, all right, my point in the handout is I hinted that it was unavoidable, inevitable. Remember, I suggested that cotton was too integral to the first industrial revolution, that progressively Southern Democrats, the fire eaters in particular of the Deep South, as well as the radical Republicans, began getting more aggressive and less compromising in their political tactics and how they operated in Congress. And along with that, that each side began to subjectively perceive the other side as more and more radical, for lack of a better adjective, going in through the 1850s. All right, court history contends that it was a crusade to end slavery. Radical Republicans were proud of being the rabble rousers, the troublemakers. They wore that emblem, that label as a crown. Okay. So let's see here. 23 is a bit redundant. Okay, as that is a part of court history. Does court history, does it suggest that Lincoln was a full-blown abolitionist from the beginning? Of course not. With 25, that is right out of the handout. Overcoming obstacles to becoming more of an abolitionist-like politician. Lincoln, that is. As far as polarizing events in the 1850s that are almost making citizens choose a side, we talked about A. We talked about B. And the Dred Scott case is referred to in C. So you're looking at all those. Does revisionist history portray the Civil War as a moral crusade? No. Right? And you found that in the handout. Evidence for revisionist history, I don't want to give everything. You guys could find that, okay? In the handout on the more cynical section, containing that this was not a crusade to end slavery, at least primarily. Right? And also 29 is found in that same section. Some kind of indicting data against Abraham Lincoln himself, as far as great man history goes. Number 30 is out of the textbook, so of course I'm going to give that one. contends that the Free Soil Party's formation signaled the inability of the two existing parties to contain the political passions created by the slavery issue. That is true. At that time, I believe that I think it predated the Republican Party. So it was between the Whigs and the Democrats. And things got really messy politically. 31, remember I mentioned this last meeting. Antietam is known to be the bloodiest day of battle. And remember, as far as tenacity and willingness to sacrifice soldiers, I mentioned Ulysses S. Grant, not McClellan. '33, at the end of the war, Grant's army deprived Richmond of resources and trapped Lee's mobile army. Remember, he had Ord on the coast with the Navy, and he had Sherman down in the deep South, bottling them up. And remember, Sherman was willing to break protocols of international war. '34. If one of you has a specific question on that, I'm willing to go back to that, but I feel like I've already shared that one. And I feel like it could be found in number 1 of the Reconstruction assignment. Dunning's thesis also could be found in the Reconstruction handout. But again, if one of you asks, I'm willing to go back to it. African American agency. B is a little strong to the point of being false. An overwhelming majority of freedmen, of freed slaves, right off the plantations, initially elected to office. No, not that radical, says Eric Foner. But eventually, yes. The 14th Amendment I mentioned as pretty significant, and it's found in the Reconstruction handout. And I'm willing to give 38 because the wrong answer, it was attempted. So hence, I believe in your version of the test online, it's going to have successful before this term right here. They attempted this. Remember field order number 15? Remember the idea of 40 acres and a mule given to the ex-slaves? But it did not succeed. And 39 is integral to the thesis of your final section of the semester, number 2 in the Reconstruction handout. All right. And I mentioned, I believe in writing, but I know speaking, number 40, all of the above for the failure of Reconstruction. I said, I don't understand why 20 will not save. At any rate, are there any other questions, you guys, or comments?
I don't have any questions or comments.
Sure. Oh, you do not?
No, I don't have any questions or comments. Not me, at least.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Anybody else?
All good, thank you.
Okay, good, good. All right, well, I've enjoyed having you guys. It's nice to see the same familiar names and faces throughout the semester. You'll be rewarded in points for that.
Thank you. Teacher, I have a question.
Sure.
If we wanted to pop in campus and see you just to say hi and whatever, is that all right?
Of course it is. I would love that.
Okay, I was thinking of doing that sometime this week, but I didn't know if that was etiquette or whatever.
No, yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Okay, cool then. Probably Wednesday.
Okay, sounds great, Jacob. All right, you guys, Clara, you okay, hon? Okay, good, good, good. All right. All right, well, you guys go and kick this test butt, okay? And do well. And I want to wish you well in your lives. I mean, really, I genuinely mean that. I have nothing but good sentiment for all of you. This was a great class. You're a great group of human beings, firstly, as well as students. And I appreciate you. I've appreciated you all semester. And thank you for your flexibility. It got a little crazy sometimes with things that I've omitted or took too long to post. And thank you for rolling with the punches.
Thank you for being there, actually. I know how hectic work life can be, and to have time for us is you know, that's more than enough. I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. And like I said, I've done it before, but I want to apologize specifically for I allow my in-class students to gain the lion's share of my attention. You know, because you meet them in person, they're asking you when they're going to get their assignment back. They're asking you for this or that, saying they've been sick and they need to, you know, make sure I put this or that on Canvas. And it's what is immediately in my sphere, you know, are my in-person classes. And then it's like my poor online students. I'm like, oh yeah, I got my online class as well. And so it's a poor excuse, but I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
you
teacher.
guys take care. I mean it. In your entire lives, every facet of your life, you guys take care of yourselves. Okay.
Thank you, teacher. Probably see you myself in person. I'll take the time to do that.
I would love that, Jacob. I
Only
would.
because I'm going to major in education and teaching, so I like that. So
Well, there you go. That'd be perfect. I
I'm gonna take
look
the time
forward
for
to
it.
it.
excellent, excellent. Okay,
All right. Okay. Bye, you
Right on.
guys. Take care.
right on. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.